Hi, I'm Mac McCarthy, and I help people with their breakups. And today, gem of a show as always. Should you tell your partner about your ex? Short answer, yes. I believe you should. But there are some exceptions to every rule. So today we're going to get into that and some other things. We've got a story on deck. If you want to send in your story to writemac.com, writemac.com, send it in, and I could review it in a live stream like this. Or if you'd like to book a live coaching session, fully unpack your breakup with me personally in a Zoom call, that's available at writemac.com. Commercial over. Let's get into it. So today, should you tell your partner about your ex? Now, there's a lot of people out there that would say, oh, no, don't ever talk about your ex to who you're dating. Now, here's the thing. If you just start dating someone, yeah, I would say that that's good intel. That's good information. I wouldn't go into details about your ex when you start dating someone new, you're getting to know each other, you're dating. If it comes up in conversation, I don't think it's something that should be avoided, right? And especially if you're not over your ex, you got to be honest with yourself. What comes up will affect how that person looks at you. And more importantly, you should be mindful of how it's affecting you overall. Okay. So let's get into it. I do have a quote for the day. Quote of the day. And I'm writing these out before every show. Tomorrow will be on 11 a.m. as well as Friday, 11 a.m. So let me know in the comments, should you tell your partner about your ex? Have you done this before, and how did it work out for you? All right. So quote of the day. Should you tell your partner about your ex? Yes. Once you start getting serious with your partner, it would be a good idea for you to share your experience of what happened. Now, if you're just starting a relationship and getting to know each other, breaking down your breakup can wait till after you get to know each other a little better. If it makes you uncomfortable to talk about it, then maybe you should be talking about it with someone else, not your new partner, therapist, coach, myself. You need to unpack and unwind your issues with an ex in order to move forward. The reason it's good to share your experiences of what your past relationship was like and why it didn't work out is that if your partner listens close enough, they can pick up areas where you might be sensitive or triggered in your current relationship with them. If you inquire about your new partner's past ex, this is fantastic intel on how they will view you and their expectations that may be hiding otherwise. Ideally, someone talks about their ex with respect and love. If they hate their ex or have nothing but horrible things to say about them, this could be a major red flag going forward. It means they haven't come to peace with their ex, and in turn will be looking at their next relationship to follow the same suit. If someone cheated on them before, they will be keenly observing you for similar behavior and even accusing you of cheating acts when you haven't, because subconsciously they believe that's what partners do in relationships. Always remember, an individual human makes decisions based on what they've experienced already. The brain's goal is to predict things based on results from individual experiences. And if someone hates their ex, calls them a narcissist 10 times a day, or still tracks them on social media just to cut them down, well, you're next. A fireman finds fires, a therapist finds patience, and a person who's still bitter at their ex will find more bitterness in you. Now, really think about that. Let that sink in. Number one, if you have a new partner and they don't ask about your ex, at some point it wouldn't be a bad idea to bring it up to them and just clear the decks. I've had numerous times where I've talked to clients post breakup and I'm like, well, what were their past relationships like? What were their past and they're like, I don't know, we never talked about it. You were together 3 years, 4 years, you never talked about that? That's important things to understand about your partner. So you need to bring it up. Have one good talk about it. This doesn't need to go on and on and on, and you need to get more and more details. Have one good talk about it so assumptions aren't made later on. and you can let them learn an important aspect of your life. You can start the conversation by saying, would you like to know about my exes? Because I think it's a good idea for us to know about each other's past. Again, you don't have to give all the intimate details, the nitty gritty, but I would start with what you liked about your partner. But I would also say why you broke up. What happened? How did it transpire? What were the things that ultimately led to the breakup? And then give it to them. My first ex, for example, my last ex was great. She was a really good person, smart, good morals, took care of me well. We broke up because she started to drink too much. And in the last year, it felt like she was always negative and fighting with friends and coworkers constantly. She had always been a bit negative, but it got worse and worse. I still believe we had a good relationship and still care about her from a distance. This would be a sign of someone being comfortable with their breakup, knowing why they broke up, and this in turn helps them decide what they want now. See how that's a healthy breakdown of a breakup, okay? And the person shouldn't be talking about it all the time. And by the way, if they broke up with an ex over drinking too much or being negative, then how does that line up with you? Are you a heavy drinker? Are you a negative person? Because that person should be learning from that breakup of what they don't want in the next relationship. Number 2, red flag talk about someone's ex. What do I mean, red flag talk about someone's ex? Someone's talking about their ex in a way that's so negative and so bad, it's a red flag. They talk about their ex with disdain, contempt, and bitterness. They call their ex names. They bring up old stories where they feel they were mistreated by their ex and even repeat these stories. I actually have some people I know that aren't clients, but feel like they're doing really well in their lives. They're on to new relationships, and they talk about their exes sometimes this way. They repeat old stories of how they got done wrong. They call their ex a narcissist, and then they have a lot of problems in their current relationship. And don't think that that's not because you haven't cleared out the trash and rubbish from your previous relationship. Because if you're still chiming out to everyone that will listen, they're a narcissist, they did this to me, they did that to me, you're still wounded, you're still hurt, you're still living in that relationship. So this is a huge red flag when they talk about their ex like this. They still follow them on social media just to talk shit to you later on. You won't be able to talk someone out of being this way, because in most cases they were dumped or made to feel inferior during the breakup, and they are now gathering constant reasons for why their ex isn't a good person. A favorite would be narcissist for these kind of people. These are the people that constantly talk about their ex in this way. I don't have a problem if your ex had narcissistic tendencies or was even a full-blown narcissist. Talking about it for years on end to your new partner is a problem because you haven't let it go. It doesn't do anything for you. It actually dials you in further for searching for narcissistic traits on your new partner. And it's not going to end. They haven't found a way to find the resources to move forward. And like I said, a lot of times this is when they were dumped or made to feel inferior. And so going into your relationship, they're just constantly gathering intel on their ex or repeating old intel of how bad they were. And it actually is adding to their story personally, their narrative story as a victim. So just be aware of that if someone talks about their ex in that way. Number 3, if someone was seriously hurt by an ex they love deeply, they could still be attached. So for example, if they got cheated on and it was a traumatic experience, for example, they walked in on someone cheating on them, they found text messages with naked pics, and it was a total surprise. They didn't see it coming. If that's the case, they probably need some coaching from myself or a therapist out there, and to really get into the nitty gritty and the guts of what happened in that breakup and clear that up and really heal from it. Because there is PTSD in breakups. And if this person comes to you with some PTSD from a breakup or a traumatic breakup where they got cheated on or disrespected in public, they're going to be very sensitive in the relationship with you. If anything smells or looks like the past relationship, they're going to go nuts or abort the relationship immediately. So just be aware of this. If they're carrying something that's really deeply hurtful, doesn't mean the next relationship won't work. It means that they need to heal that. A good place to start would be emotional freedom technique, hypnotherapy. If this is so, if they are suffering from, like I said, a PTSD situation, which literally means they were shocked and traumatized by what happened in the breakup. It was something that extremely hurtful and they can't forget it and they're reliving it. If this is the case, they'll never be fully engaged in the new relationship until they get that worked on. Number 4, exes are a reflection of us and how we handle things post breakup. They will be vital to either being a better partner in the future or repeating the same mistakes as a past relationship. So when someone reviews with you a past relationship and they're being extremely negative about it, they haven't let that part go. When they can look at, I'm thinking back to a client I had that he was dating a stripper. She was a drug addict. And he was like, oh man, that was just such a bad, toxic relationship, but he was laughing about it. Right. And I said, why did you stay in it? He goes, oh, the intimacy was incredible, but what a time in my life. As if that was a different time in his life. He was a different person with different values. He had changed. He wasn't angry at that woman. He even saw the silver lining in it. They had good intimacy. But the reality was he could reflect back as if that person he was in that relationship wasn't going to happen again. And it was just a crazy thing. If someone reflects back and they feel like they're still in it, they're still fighting the fight, that's a red flag. Number 5, if someone has had a lot of exes, then they will be more likely to break up quicker also. So if someone's been with a lot of people, surprise, surprise, if they've had 10 boyfriends and girlfriends, met people like this, they're actually really good at pulling people. They're really good at attracting new candidates, contenders for their love. But for some reason, they break up quite easily. And they don't think it's them. They think it's the partner. These type of people usually aren't very picky. They don't really have a type. And they get in and out of relationships easy. So if someone's easy to get into a relationship, they will be easy to get out of a relationship. If someone's had numerous partners, man or woman, as far as, oh, my boyfriends or my girlfriends, if they've had numerous ones, their playbook is if something doesn't go right, we will break up and I'll meet someone new. So just keep that in mind. I'm not going to put a number on that. Number 6, always also take inventory on how they talk about their friends and family's partners. Do they talk down about them? For example, I had an ex that had a good friend whom was a good-looking woman in her late 20s. This was years back. And she got a new boyfriend. And she was single for a long time. She had a great career. I mean, she was like a 9 or a 10, right? Like she had a lot of things going for her. And the new guy, I met him like at a barbecue. And he was just cool. He was laid back. He had like long hair. I think he had one on one of those backpacking trips before. He was in his 20s. But he worked at like a boutique grocery mart, like one of those all-natural marts in San Francisco. And I remember my girlfriend at the time just thought, God, he wasn't good enough for her friend, right? That he wasn't good enough for her friend because of his job, that she thought it was really low that he was working at this grocery mart. And she would just bury him behind his back. And the guy was a nice guy. He was cool. I mean, by all standards, she was highly attracted to him, comfortable in his own skin. And I remember thinking, like, why do you hate this guy so much? She's telling you what she wants in a guy also. That's something I didn't realize. She's saying that she values a guy with a career and looks good on paper and makes a lot of money. Surprise, surprise, a lot of women value that. Right? and she couldn't handle that her friend was settling for something she would never settle for. And so this goes hand in hand about how they talk about their exes, but also about how they talk about other people's partners. So, and my girlfriend at the time would just talk shit about this guy. I worked at this grocery mart and wasn't good enough for her friend. She'd go on and on. Have you ever had this where you had your partner talk shit about one of their friends, boyfriend or girlfriends? And looking back, she was giving me some insight on what was attracted to her, and that was a well-paid career, preferably one that looked good on paper. We ended up breaking up years later. And I wouldn't say that was the reason, but I would say that, you know what? I overlooked the value in knowing that that's what she really wanted, right? And so people that you're dating are always giving you clues about how they talk about other people, including their exes. Number 7, what I see in you, I see in me. I often say this. So when you make a comment about someone else, you probably can see it in yourself at some point. But in cases of X, what I see in other people, I'll see in you eventually. So when someone's pointing out things negatively about other people constantly, they'll probably find those things in you eventually also. Just keep that in mind. You're not special or bulletproof in someone's judgments. All right, we just got through that. Miguel Coronado, thanks for riding. Dude, I really want to apologize. My ex's parents are lying and cheating, but I don't think it's a good idea. I think I should do it in 4 months from now. It's been really hard to forgive myself. What's the point of apologizing to your ex's parents? I've heard about people doing this. Is this an idea? Are you doing this just for you? Or are you doing this because you really think by apologizing to her parents that it'll somehow get you back in her good graces? Right? You got to ask yourself that, because for whatever you've done, the parents might take your forgiveness, but in reality, they're always gonna put their kid first. Always gonna put their kid first. And so whatever you say, if you hurt their daughter, they're still gonna not look at you very kindly. You just got to ask yourself, what's my intention in wanting to apologize to her parents? To get on her good side or to honestly apologize to the parents? Someone recently just told me that one of their siblings is having a major drug problem. And the wife, they're still married. They're separated. And the wife is making her husband tell her dad, and they're in their early 40s, making her tell her dad that he's a drug addict. Tail between his legs. I mean, I'm not sure what the purpose of that is. But I'm open to telling me what it is. It's for me, and also I lied to her parents. Plus, Dominican culture, parents, big deal. I mean, is it somewhere written in Dominican culture that, like, if you lie and cheat, then tell the parents? I bet a lot of Dominicans would be like, nah, that's not in our culture. I'm at the point that I believe we are never getting back together, so I just want to let it all go. Well, if you feel like you really have to do it, do it. Just know why you're doing it. If you look at it like, oh, this is a way to get her back, I wouldn't do it. If you look at it, this is a way for me to come clean and feel better about myself, okay. Matthew K. Coach Mac, has anyone told you look like an older alternate version of Alden Einreich? No. No one has told me that. I don't know who that is. You're the first, Matthew K. Just glad I will never cheat again and not repeat same past mistakes. All right. So we got a story on deck, folks. We'll get into that in a moment. All right. Hi, Coach Mac. I got a breakup to share. Please be honest. This was and is my first true love. We broke up 1 month ago. I'm 23 and he's 23. Our birthdays are actually 1 day apart, if you can believe that. We met in college in the dorms. We started hooking up immediately. Didn't even really date before becoming official about a month after dating. And from the get-go, we did everything together. We studied together, we exercised together, we ate together, and we did other stuff too. I'm sure you did other stuff too. Okay. It was awesome. He graduated a year earlier than me. And to be honest, his degree was much easier than mine. So he took an online internship the first 3 months. First 3 months, which we were living together, that was fine. He complained that it was hard, but it didn't affect us too much. I was still in school in my final term. Things were intense and I had a lot of work stack up. And I was honestly stressed about some issues with my family. Okay, so always consider that, your work, your school, your family, do your best to separate those issues and deal with them. Sometimes what happens is you stack them, you put them into one big fire or group, and it's much harder to combat those things when you put them all in the same pile. So if you're having family issues, talk to a therapist, coach, best friend about those issues individually. Do not stack them into your relationship. And sometimes, your partner's not your therapist or they're not understanding. If they have a good family life or they had a horrible family life, to talk to them about your family problems. I've learned this the hard way. People can't relate to things that haven't happened to them. And so that's why it's really good to get a therapist or a close friend that's understanding and to go through those things. I'm doing more and more work with people outside of their breakups because it all cultivates to a tougher, more challenging relationship when you have outside issues that you're bringing into a relationship or you're not being honest about. So it'll definitely affect your relationship if you have some family stuff going on. I couldn't believe that he wasn't more understanding. Okay, so just go back to that sentence. I was still in school, my final term. Things were intense and I had a lot of work stack up and I was honestly stressed about some issues with my family. I couldn't believe that he wasn't more understanding. I mean, I was going through mini depression states and he asked me things like, "What's your problem?" or "Quit being dramatic." Okay, so this is a great example of, like I said, people aren't trained to handle depression or just go online and you figure out you're in depression. Get some professional help, talk to some people that are not in your friends and family circle. And you need to get out in front of that. To expect your partner to be more understanding is actually ignorance. Ignorance means you don't know what you don't know. It doesn't mean you're stupid. Okay? People in their early 20s, they're even in their 30s, and not everyone's built to handle depression or these kinds of problems. And so blaming your partner for not being understanding is not going to help you. They're not the one. They're not the one to help with that. Our sex life really fell off and this frustrated him. And there was this sudden period where he would just lock the door to the room. And I'm pretty sure these times he was watching endless porn. He denies it being endless, but admitted sometimes he had to do it. Okay. I mean, as long as he's being honest. And if that's within your morals and values of the relationship and you're okay with it, then let it ride. This would upset me and we'd fight over this. Okay, it upsets you. So you got to state, what's your limitations on that. Never making up, just staying in a hot zone or ignoring each other for a day. He said, I didn't even try to be sexy anymore, and that wasn't doing it for him anymore. Well, it's pretty hard to compete with endless porn, probably, to be fair to you. This really hurt me bad. I tried to wear something sexy a couple times after that, but he literally laughed at me. Finally, we had a talk 2 weeks before the breakup, and it felt like he was just checked out. And he even admitted that he was talking to a girl from his hometown he went to high school with and was now working near where we lived. He said nothing happened, but that they met for coffee a couple times and that one of my friends saw him. So he thought it's best he tell me. So he's telling you I told you because I got caught. Well, that's not very admirable. I asked if he wanted to fight for the relationship or just start seeing other people. He laughed that I was being dramatic. And that night we hooked up and it was good. The next day we ate breakfast together and it felt good. He was checking his phone a lot, but he kind of always does that, so no big deal. But then I asked, "Are you texting her?" And he said no. But then he got defensive and started a silly fight about something else. My sixth sense said he was lying, and later that night, I did check his phone, and they had been texting off and on all day. Well, where there's smoke, there's fire, huh? Nothing serious, but they were talking a lot about silly things, but I felt I had to confront him. So I did, and he couldn't believe I checked his phone. He went around the topic if he hooked up with her yet. Finally, I yelled at him, "Did you sleep with her?" His mouth stopped running, and he went silent, and he said that, "What do you want me to say?" I said the truth would be nice. He responded, "Yes, okay." Well, there you go. I want to give you a lot of credit here because a lot of people check someone's phone and they don't say anything. I come across this a lot. They find something, they find some serious evidence like you did. You got to confront the individual. You got to ask the tough questions. Don't make assumptions or blaze over things. You did that. You did that. Well done. It's hard to do. You asked a direct, strong question. Stop playing games with me. I walked out and came later that night with my best friend to grab my stuff. I called the landlord the next day, who really liked me, and I told her that what happened and that I wanted my name off the lease immediately. She said no problem. She had to just run it till the end of the month. Then she'd boot him out. Ooh. Another good move here. I'm not telling you to boot him out. I'm just saying if you're really going to go all in on breaking up and you're sharing a lease or one of these situations, take care of it immediately because it's gonna fester. And if your name was on the lease and you feel like you need to break up or do this, I don't have a problem with it. Booting him out without telling him, that's a bit dirty, but karma's a bitch. There was only a week till the end of the month, and the place was solely in my name. His credit is horrible. I didn't tell him what was coming either. The day after I had moved, he's probably thinking to himself, wow, this went better than I thought. It went smoother than I thought. The day after I'd moved, I had heard from a neighbor that he had actually had a woman over. I told him through text. I knew he was already seeing someone else and that he could keep the place, but I didn't tell him he'd be booted out soon. He said, "Thank you for understanding." He was sorry and still cared about me a lot. So when the first came, I got a call that he was told to move out in 24 hours. I said it wasn't my problem. I wasn't going to keep the place in my name and the landlord, and you can work that out. He whined that he had no place to go and thought I'd let him stay there till the end of the lease. I told him, well, I guess we both got surprised. That must have felt damn good. People love a good piece of revenge. Too bad revenge doesn't last. That moment doesn't, you get revenge, but then you come back to reality and you're still hurt and upset. But this guy should learn a lesson from this. Don't depend on other people's leases. You had the leverage. I won't lie, it felt good, but now a month later, I can't help but miss him. I heard he's still seeing that girl, but he checks my stories on Snapchat daily, and he told a mutual friend that he misses me a lot and that the new girl is really annoying and that if he could get back with me, he would. Now I'm wondering, should we get together and talk? Part of me is also wondering how reliable this friend is, as she's not a close friend and she's more his friend. Okay. Secondhand material, not from the horse's mouth. You always got to take it with a grain of salt. If you're really curious, call him up and ask him what's going on. And he used to hit on me sometimes, and she used to hit on me sometimes. Now I'm confused. I'm confused now too. And he also is staying at a friend's house. He's basically broke, and I always took care of him on the rent. So I'm not sure if that's why he misses me too. Do you think he'll come back to me? My question is, do you want to get back together? This guy cheated on you. He was reliant on you for money. The relationship wasn't good for a while prior to the breakup. You had issues with his endless watching of porn and locking the door. So I mean, there's some other issues here. I would give yourself some more time and no contact. You did the right thing by moving out right away and not accepting it. Did the right thing by confronting him and asking him a direct question. I would say do the right thing by giving yourself some more time to heal here. And the hardest part is just being lonely for a little while and just missing that person. If you live together, it's a big void. But I think if you got back together anytime soon, you'd be throwing it in his face that he cheated on you. You'd be throwing it in his face that you don't trust him. You'd be checking his phone more. You wouldn't be able to erase what's already happened. And to me, it would be a recipe for disaster if you got back together anytime soon. How can I get his attention and make a move or call me? Well, right now, based on the thing that occurred with the rent and the lease, he's going to be a little bit bitter, and he's also going to think that you're out to get him a little bit. So in that sense, he's probably not going to be receptive right away. He's going to be weary if you're going to be honest with him. So I don't think he's going to come back to you. He cheated on you. You got him booted out of the lease. I don't think if he called you, he'd think you were receptive. So if in this particular case, you would be the one to call him and want to talk about things, hoping and wishing that he calls you. And I would bet if he called you, you'd be tough with him at first. This is just how people are. You'd want to get some shots in on him. He hurt you, so you'll want to hurt him. And so if he comes back to you, I don't think you'll be there with open arms. Be honest with yourself. You're lonely right now and you miss him, but do you really want to get back in a relationship with someone you don't trust? And you don't trust him. All right, so let's get into the live stream for a little bit today. If you have any questions or topics you want to talk about, go ahead and put them in the live stream, put them in the comments below. And if you have a story you want to send in, put it into writemac.com. So, just glad I will never cheat again and not repeat the same mistakes. Well, good for you, Miguel. Why do I have dreams about my ex? Well, people from our past, people that we're close to, we do have dreams about, right? You can have a friend from the 5th grade that you had a dream about. You can have a friend, you could have dreams about people from your past all day, every day. I will say this, what you're obsessing over or what's on your mind a lot are more apt to have dreams about it. Let's face it, right? It's very common to have some crazy dreams post breakup. I remember one of my dreams post breakup was seeing my ex in a bathtub with alcohol and liquor all around. And there was 3 guys that I knew that had nothing really to do directly with her, but they were like party guys that hung out at bars, and they were kind of in the scene. And I thought to myself, what is this? And then I read a dream book, and it said anything to do with someone being in a bath or water, that you want them to be cleaned. So that's kind of an interesting one. So you can look up some of this stuff about the dreams and what they mean in some of these dream books, but it's completely normal to have dreams about your ex because they're on your mind so much. All right, I did have one more comment. This was a shorter story that was written in, less detailed. Sometimes when you write your stories like this, I don't always share them, but I'll throw it in there. Hey, coach, I left you a comment in one of the YouTube videos. My situation is the following. I met this girl at a club. At first, I had my guard high. I wasn't planning to date or anything like that. We started vibing and kicking it very well. Lasted for 3.5 weeks. It was amazing. She even said it. She was planning to introduce me to her sister because she wanted me to meet me, which means she was talking about me a lot. And I also met her best friend around week 3. I started to get overwhelmed with work and started to overthinking a lot of what was going on with me and her. We met up that weekend and it was good. I felt better with her. I would also add that I never blew up her phone or made any serious jealous comments. So after that weekend, I asked, when do I get to see her? Which she first said that she was busy all week and weekend, but after changed her mind and said, I think I can see you either Friday or Saturday. The that I was getting from her was that she had low self-esteem and was insecure of herself. So if you're getting that vibe, is that someone you want to continue a long-term relationship with? Is that something you're attracted to? So the last week we were talking good like every day. I was having my live posting in social media. Thursday comes and I asked her again to confirm if I was going to see her on the weekend since I was planning my weekend. Long story short, Friday she didn't mention anything about seeing me. After Saturday, I hit her up, and after seeing a couple messages back and forth, I said that I was supposed to chill with this girl, but she seemed scared. I also told her that she seemed to be distant, and if you want to talk, we can talk. I know that I shouldn't have done that at all. We didn't talk after that. A week after that, I shooted her a message saying, hey, since she was seeing my stories and still following me, a week and a half after doing no contact, she unfollowed me. I mean, at the end of the day, you only knew each other for 3 weeks. This is very common now. People get wrapped up like we knew each other for 3 weeks. You don't know shit about this person. It's a casual encounter. Okay? So I left a comment. My guard high. I wasn't planning on a date or anything like that. She was vibing. It lasted for 3.5 weeks. 3.5 weeks means I don't know this person at all. It's extremely fragile time of a relationship sometimes, and people get like, what did they do? Why did they do this? I don't think this is considered ghosting, but I consider it the most immature way to let somebody know you're not interested in them. This is extremely common. Extremely common. I get a lot of messages about this. I was talking to someone and they ghosted me. I met them on an online app and they ghosted me. I met someone, we were talking for 3 weeks and they ghosted me. Relationships are less polite, okay? It's very easy to just swerve off of someone and stop texting them. It's just the way it is. Don't take it personal. Don't think it's personal. There's a lot of shallow relationships out there right now. There's a lot of people that talk to 100 different people through text. And so just like you met them easy come, easy go is my advice. Miguel Coronado says, I keep hoping she will break no contact, but I feel like this is making my healing less effective. Don't deny that you're hoping and wishing. Accept that that's how you feel right now. But what can you do in place of hoping and wishing? How can you be more proactive? How can you do things for you? How can you lean into the fact that you're going all in on this breakup and moving forward? How can you find a way to have some confidence in yourself that you can meet someone equal or higher value? You're doing a lot of good things, Miguel. Stay with it. It's going to take some time, my friend. Don't fight the fact that you're hoping and wishing right now. Accept the fact. All right, folks, it's been good. It's been grand. I'll be back on at 11 a.m. tomorrow. Thanks for those that were on deck today. If you have a story you want to write, send it into writemac.com or book a live coaching session. The link's down below. Curtains.